working?
Try again.
Is it working?
Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 135 for April 8th, 2015. Thank you for the hand signals. I don't make me count and talk, Tony. I'll seize up. I'll have a stroke or something. But my name is Russell Frost. I am, again, unfortunately for you listeners and viewers, I am your only host. Danny Cooper is off enjoying spring break with his family. If you see him on the beach in South Carolina, please feel free to go up and insist that he buy you a beer. And you can tell him that's from me. So, luckily, I'm not here by myself, which would be a horrible, horrible show that no one, including probably my mom, wouldn't want to watch. Luckily, I have some great people with me this week, and I'm going to introduce them, starting with Mr. Tony Schaefer. Hey, Tony.
Hey everybody. So tonight, my drink of choice, I'm keeping with the buy local, drink local mentality. So I recommend everyone to go out, and if you can find a Scurry beer, it's very good. It's brewed in Chicago, and the interesting part, I thought, is they actually list the secret ingredients, which pretty much defeats the purpose of calling them secret ingredients. So there you go. I'm going to be enjoying this with my Boulder Beer Church Key. All right.
And have any cuties with you this time?
No cuties other than you guys. I lie a lot.
Well, speaking of cuties, our man in the great Northwest is here this week, and I'm very glad to have him, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Hello from Oregon, where we have two teenagers that are suing our governor for not properly protecting our atmosphere from climate change.
I think I like that.
Yeah.
I think I like that. I'm not sure.
The case is going before a judge now. It's been 4 years in the works, and it's finally getting somewhere. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Good for them. Yeah, why not type the legal system with at least something that has a good potential ending? And speaking of good potential endings, I like to think of him as our personal master of disaster. He is the man in the Midwest, Dr. Evan Busco.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? Having a good night here. Got me a 400-pound monkey IPA.
Left Hand Brewing.
You betcha. Good stuff. So we're doing well, and we're gonna have a couple special guests from my household joining us later tonight too.
And we are very much looking forward to hearing from them. I'm sorry, the beer is called 400-Pound Monkey?
Yep.
It is.
And how is it that, have you drained all of your personal stash?
No, but I like to keep things interesting and try new beers and such whenever I can, and I'm just trying. Thought it sounded good tonight.
You know,
I've got a.
No, I was going to say, forgive me for one more question, but what in the name of all that is holy does a 400-pound monkey taste like?
Actually, it's a pretty standard IPA. It's not particularly special, but it's nice. It's good, clean, not overly bitter, but just enough.
Okay, well, there's the celebrity libations on this week's What Drives Us. Let's get started on our 2-minute topics, and let's start this week with Tony Schaefer.
Okay, well, I have a article that I found at Reuters that says that Nissan is planning to make automatic braking a standard feature in Japan, which means that every mass volume car that they manufacture and sell in the country of Japan is going to be equipped with automatic braking. Unfortunately, they haven't mentioned their plans for global domination, but it's anticipated that bringing this automatic braking into the mass market is, like we've talked about before, more or less paving the way towards autonomous vehicles. We talked about cars that can obey speed limits. Now we're talking about cars that can brake automatically, and cars that can do lane keep assist, and they can use GPS, and they can maneuver. Now, also following in this, and I don't know following or who came first or what, but Toyota has said it's going to offer similar safety packages either as an option or a standard feature on almost all passenger cars in Japan, North America, and Europe by the end of 2017. So that's interesting. We know that Toyota has used the hybrids, specifically the Prius, for test bed for technology. So it would be interesting to see if this is something that finds its way into the Prius. They brought Bluetooth into the Prius and made that relatively mainstream, along with a lot of the lane keep assist, the touch tracer, and a lot of other stuff. So, maybe when they say by the end of 2017, they're actually looking more of 2016. We'll have to see. But I think it's pretty exciting, kind of, that cars will brake for pedestrians even when the driver is distracted or just not fast enough to react. So that's my 2-minute topic. I think this is a pretty cool development.
It is interesting to see the transition from the passenger safety that really has made a huge difference in fatality rates over time to now even looking at collision avoidance and pedestrian injury avoidance, which should do even more. So it's a pretty cool move.
Yeah.
There is even not just pedestrian, but also when you look at some states where you have incidents of impacting deer or God forbid a moose. You look at that kind of stuff, and people die because they hit wildlife in their car. So there's also that factor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like this idea.
Safer is good.
This seems much more acceptable than a car that would limit your speed. Somehow it's less intrusive, that it'll stop you from hitting something. That seems like a good thing, where we had a whole lot of discussion about whether limiting your speed is something we would want or not.
True.
True that. Well, which actually brings me to mind something that I should have said right at the outset, so I'll say it right now. In between Tony's 2-minute topic, which we just concluded, and going into Patrick's 2-minute topic, which we're going into next, which is we actually have a theme for this whole show. We want to talk about car safety, vehicle safety, and along those lines, let's have the next 2-minute topic from Mr. Connor.
Okay, so my 2-minute topic is an infographic. So I'm sorry if you're just listening to the podcast and can't see this. I'll try to walk you through it. It's an infographic from Liberty Mutual, and they've done a study here where they look at the driving habits of teenagers and how those are impacted by things that their parents have done when they were riding in the car and watching how their parents drive. And they looked at such things as do they speed? Do they talk on their cell phones? Have they driven under the influence of alcohol? Obviously, these are all things you wouldn't want to do. Do they wear their seat belts? Do they? And they have found a correlation that parents that do this have teenagers that when they start driving, they do the same thing.
Do as I do, not as I say.
Yep.
It doesn't really work. Yeah, you can say it all you want, but they're going to do what you did, whether or not they should. Oh, look, you've got the graphic shared there. Neat.
I did.
Yeah.
The graphic was up while you were talking.
Cool.
I do. Yeah.
It always frustrates me when I see it, like, and I'm going to pick on one particular driver, but this obviously applies to anyone. But I see mom in the minivan with like a couple of kids in car seats and the baby on board sticker on the back, with a cell phone stuck to the side of her head, driving like halfway into my lane.
And then a cigarette in the other, just to make it worse.
All the windows are up, of course.
Not in Pennsylvania, because no one uses an ashtray in Pennsylvania. Everyone throws their cigarettes out the window.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Beautiful.
in California freaks me out every time I see it.
Don't even get me on that tangent, man.
Yeah. So, Patrick, I'm sorry. Did we? Are Are you good to go?
Did you want to add any more to that, Evan? Did you want?
Well, I was just going to say I've got a couple teen drivers who are just working on. They've got their permits, and I've been working on them. They're both 15-year-old boys, and I've got Brendan and Heath that are going to come on over, and they will confess all my sins of my bad driving habits. And I'm going to let you guys pelt them with a few questions here. Come on, guys.
Dun, dun, dun. So,
Yeah,
welcome.
this is going to be ugly. I'm going to deny everything.
I'll tell you what, right now, I see ugly.
Yeah. Yeah, please don't stand right in front of the
That's a flattering angle there. Yeah.
Please. We'll talk, and there we go. Okay, so, sir, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Brendan Fusco.
Hey, Brendan, how's it going, dude?
It's good. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for coming on. So, we're talking about safety, and we're talking about teen drivers and all of this, and I guess I'm just kind of like curious, like where you're picking up your safety cues. Patrick just presented a thing that said that most teens get a lot of their habits from their parents.
Yeah, I'd say most of my driving habits are from my parents. I'm still learning a lot right now, but I think my parents are pretty good drivers, so. But it hasn't translated super well because I'm not a great driver right now, but I think once I learn a lot of their habits, I'll be a lot better.
Why is your father standing behind you with an axe?
Is that to make sure you say nice things?
Is there something going on here that I'm not aware of?
Nah, he's a pretty good driver, and I think it's more about learning the situations of the road right now. I think his habits are all pretty good.
Did you guys have to take driver's education in school?
No, we haven't yet. I don't think it's required, but it is offered at our school.
Oh, okay.
What about using your cell phone? Have you ever done that while you're driving?
No, I usually turn it off right now.
Turn it off all the way, or put it in airplane mode or something?
All the way usually, just since I'm.
What if you need it for the map feature?
We have a GPS in the car, so that's what I usually use.
There you go.
So I want to backtrack a little about the driver's education. Now, it was absolutely required when I was in school. Maybe that was just my school. You said it's optional?
Yeah, it's completely optional at our school. You don't have to take it.
Wow.
Do you have to take some sort of education, like a private, like A.A. Adams driving school, or?
No, there's nothing required as long as you get like the 40 hours of driving time.
Yeah, you're required 40 hours of driving, and you have to read a permit manual before you take the test, and then another manual before you take the actual driving test for your license.
That's the same way it was for me. There was no class required, although you could get a discount on your insurance if you had taken driver's ed. It was not required.
Yeah, I think that's the same way. I think we can get a discount if we take driver's ed.
Okay, so I had an entire semester which included simulators, classroom learning. There was a huge parking lot that was marked off just for driving, and we drove around the parking lot and practiced parallel parking. And then there were just days and days of driving around town in multiple situations. I mean, it was an entire semester of just driving, which is why I'm such an awesome driver. I should point out. But I'm a little bit shocked to hear. I thought that was normal. I thought that's what everybody did.
No, I mean it's offered at our school, but it's not hugely advertised, I think, either. It's just a normal class.
And Brendan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a large portion of the driver's ed class is classroom work. I think they don't even drive during the school year, and you have to take the summer school.
During the school year, they don't even do hands-on at all. It's just written stuff. Yeah. Our summer school class lets you drive in the car, but that's it.
So it's weird. No.
I mean, we had classroom in California. You have to. Well, back in the day. Now, again, this was a million years ago when I was 15. Or a million and 15 years ago. I'm not sure. But we had classroom work. We had to pass that. Then we had to sit in these horrible simulators that were just terrible. And then we got to drive in like the dual drive car, which was really frustrating because the driver's ed teacher was a complete knob. But
So do they just have a brake, or do they have a steering wheel too?
In our cars, he just had a brake.
Okay.
Did he use it a lot?
Yes. He was a complete knob. I mean, it was just horrible. It was horrible. And forgive me, we don't usually have 15-year-olds on the show. Maybe I should say he was a complete dork. I don't know. I'm sure you guys.
That's what this feature that Nissan's going to come out with should be called. Mr. Knob.
The Mr. Knob safety feature. Yes.
It'll break for you.
You know what? I'm curious. Is there anything that you guys, and this is going out to Brendan and Heath again, is there anything that you guys would want? I mean, since you're in the process, like, is there anything you feel that you haven't gotten that you would like, that you feel would make you a better driver?
I mean, maybe just more hands-on stuff in school might be nice, but I can't really think of anything on the top of my head. I don't know about Heath.
Yeah. No, it's all there.
Heath is totally good with it all.
Yeah.
What about, have you driven the Tesla yet?
Not happening.
Oh, I see. I think what you really need then is some good EV vehicle experience.
I think so too. I'd rather drive that. I might be into driving then.
I don't know how he feels about the EV experience once the Tesla's crashed into a tree, but...
Oh.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, that would be bad. You really don't want to smash that car into a tree. You really don't want to smash any car into a tree.
Yeah, just drive the Prius. That's a throwaway.
Yeah. Oh, hey, wait a second. I drive a Prius. Damn.
I just saw an article today that you guys should get and send to your dad. It's 5 reasons why an electric car is a great first car. There you go. Good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be a good idea, Heath. What do you think?
Electric car?
A Tesla for our first car.
I mean, they said it on the podcast, so...
Yeah.
It must be true.
Absolutely. If we suggest it, it's got to be right.
Yes.
You're the experts.
I appreciate that, both of you, and your check is in the mail. So thank you for that very much. One more thing, for me, one of the things that we're going to talk about is a graph from the IIHS, the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety, and it's interesting that this graph, what it basically shows is fatality rates per 100,000 people at certain ages. And interestingly enough, one of the safest groups are 16-year-olds. 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, less safe. Do you guys have any idea of why that might be?
Well, I know our age group is a lot more cautious now. Like, I think Heath and I are much more hesitant driving at this age than our parents were. We're just not as into it.
Well, I also think it would be, especially right now when our parents have to be in the car teaching us how to drive, they're very closely monitoring our driving habits and what we do in the car. And I imagine that would apply to the first year of driving independently as well, because they're already talking about how we'll be limited even after we get a license and are able to drive by ourselves until we have enough experience.
Yeah.
That's a very good answer. I like that. Anything? I'm sorry, Tony, Patrick, grill the kids.
What about driving a stick shift? Have you guys had any experience with that? Or
We
do
haven't
you
done
care?
that yet. I mean, our
It's
parents
something you
want us
should
to learn
learn.
it eventually, but I don't know when.
Yeah, go rent a car with the stick shift. That's how you should learn it.
Yeah.
Grind, grind.
Can you even do that?
I don't know if they have manuals you can rent anymore.
Yeah, I mean that aren't like a Lotus or a V8 Mustang or something. I would be surprised if you
Or the exact opposite. It's an 83 Metra.
What the hell? Yeah, the rental rate is $1.75.
Yeah, you don't have to be great at it, but you should learn at least enough that if you're ever in a situation where you have to do it, you at least have a clue of what the clutch is.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm sorry. Please go ahead, Heath.
No, I was going to say that'll come eventually. We'll eventually learn how, but right now we just need to get the basics down.
I'm not going to tell the story of how I learned to drive stick, but let me just say it was in one night, and it wasn't my vehicle. So you can kind of infer the rest of the story there. Hey, well, guys, thanks very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And,
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, Tony. Did any last shots at Fusco?
No, not really. I just wanted to tell the guys you're a lot more interesting than the old guy who's usually there. So if you guys want to come back anytime.
All right.
Wednesday at 9, guys. Wednesday at 9.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Brendan and Heath Fusco, our
Yay!
50-year-old new drivers.
So that was really weird not be able to hear the the questions.
If it makes you feel any better, Evan, I basically it was a steady stream of obscenities.
Basically what the one thing I couldn't say to the kids was when I think Brandon said that the driver's ed in school is it's all book learning and no hands-on. That kind of reminded me of when I took sex ed.
Oh.
Nice.
I was like, when do we get the hands-on part?
Still waiting for that day.
Yeah, still waiting.
Oh, so to kind of open it up in a little bit wider thing, I just want to start off with this one thing. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety it put out a report, and the link will be at whatdrives.us. You can see it there. You can probably also see it on the What Drives Us Facebook page. It's facebook.com/whatdrivesus. And it was some interesting provisions about driver safety, and one of them was this one that I just discussed with Evan's boys, which is a graph of fatal crashes per 100,000. There's a couple of interesting things about it. One of them is the steady and really just a very, very steady drop in fatalities. This graph runs from 96 to 2013, and it's amazing how many fewer fatalities there are. So yeah. I'm going to ask. Oh, thank you. Tony has the graph up. I want to make sure that there we go, that you can see that. So this is the graph, and I mean it's impressive. And I mean I think we've talked about this on the show many times, but cars are safer today than they used to be. And I don't know that when I started learning to drive in like 1977, if I could have said that cars were safer in 77 than they were in 65. I mean, maybe marginally because they required seatbelts, but I don't think to the extent that they are safer today. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, I think you have to separate two aspects of these safety numbers out. One is within the vehicles themselves, and that probably is 70% of, just rough made off the top of my head percentage, but of the in-vehicle safety features, the improved airbags, which have really, dramatically, even since the initial ones that were just in the steering wheel, now we've got passenger and side and, the curtains that come down and all that, plus the crush zones in the front of the vehicle and those sorts of things, the reinforcements for the side impacts, and just the increased attention that goes into vehicle safety. The other aspect that maybe gets underplayed a little bit is that on almost every major highway now, there's those cables that run down the medians, and something that I know in the ER that we used to see a lot, particularly on these high-speed highway accidents, is these vehicles that the driver falls asleep and crosses the median, or somebody moves over into their lane and knocks them just off course, and then suddenly they're down through the median, crossing into head-on traffic. And when two cars collide with a combined impact speed of 130 miles an hour, really, really bad things happen. And people don't walk away from that uninjured. And those cables now that stretch across the middle of almost every interstate highway that we have practically eliminated those types of accidents at those high speeds, and they reduce the impact of those vehicles when they come across. And it's really those high-speed accidents that lead to the vast majority of the fatalities to start with. So that's something that I know I've been impressed with, that we've just seen a drop to practically zero of these types of injuries where a vehicle crosses the median on the interstates.
We should say, just 1 second, Pat. Dr. Evan Fusco is a doctor, but he's not just a doctor. He's an ER doctor, a trauma doctor. Is that
Yeah.
fair and accurate, Evan?
Yeah, that's fair and accurate.
Okay, so Evan's
he's-
speaking from direct personal experience, not really from reading anything or whatever. I just wanted to make that clear to the listeners.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Patrick. Take it
Yeah,
away.
Yeah, that was Tony, not me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tony.
I was going to say, definitely, Evan is not the guy you want to see at work.
And I
It's
don't
not-
want to see you.
Yes. He's the last guy you want to see, and you certainly hope he's not the last guy you ever see.
Ouch.
But the situation that Evan painted there, where maybe you're distracted or you fall asleep and you get bumped. I mean, that certainly happens. But even more so is when you're driving through, let's say, Iowa in a snowstorm, and there's no wind buffers and there's nothing but ice, and you can lose traction and just start spinning. I mean, that kind of stuff happens as well. So it's not just, I'm just adding to what Evan said there. It's many situations cause people to cross the median, and it's not only, like you were saying, the in-car safety, but also the road safety and the out-of-car safety features.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see a chart that compared these injuries along with crashes. Because I'm sure that we're just as bad drivers as we've ever been, but now,
Or worse, with cell phones.
because of the things that we talked about here, and yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't think I think the number of incidents is probably as high, if not higher, than it ever has been. It's just that they're now not as tragic as they once were.
Right. Yeah, and I know that I recently had to rent a Suburban for a big family trip, and they had the lane keep thing where my seat, the side of the seat, vibrated my butt, depending on which lane I was getting ready to cross to kind of wake you. I thought it was a really weird thing because I didn't know it was there when I first started driving. I was like, why is my butt tingling? But that was pretty.
Whoa, too much.
But that was pretty impressive because every time you just edge onto that line, it would kind of give you that little tickle, just that little extra awareness that I think even if you're distracted by your cell phone, you get the butt tingle, you better pay attention,
So it's like the rumble strips, but it's kind of built in. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
that was one of the things I have to say. I was with some international friends, and we were driving on the interstate, and one of them in the passenger seat looked over and asked what those grooves were, and I mentioned they were rumble strips, and I went over and ran over the rumble strips for a while, and they had never seen or heard of anything like that, and so I thought that was.
Before you went, did you yell, "Let's get ready to rumble"?
Nice. I wish I would have. I'll have to pocket that one for next time. Yeah.
Nice. I was just going to say I was looking for an injuries graph that wasn't just fatalities to see if it was as dramatic, and let me put that up and see. You guys can take a look at it. There. It only goes to 2007, and you'll see the characteristic dip of the fatalities, but down below you'll see it's a little bit flatter. In fact, it looks like motorcycle injuries have gone up, which kind of doesn't surprise me given the way most motorcycle riders ride.
But passenger cars certainly saw a steady decline.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And collision accidents, little drop, which that's nice, and maybe that's some of the collision avoidance technology kind of coming out there. Total number of accidents is fairly flat.
Yeah. So it would appear as though, for a number of reasons, obviously, cars are safer. And I think that's a good thing. One of the things that was sort of bugged me about one of the stories last week was the idea that there was like an optional safety package that you could buy for the car. And I thought, why is the safety package optional?
We only want the wealthy people to survive.
And which although
Darwinian, there's nothing wrong with that.
Which brings up the topic, though. Again, so this is sort of a regressive a way of saying poor people can't be as safe as wealthy people. If you've got $35,000 to $50,000 to put into a vehicle, you're going to be safer than if you're driving a $20,000 car, at best. Should more of these safety things be required?
Well, they do slowly go up over time, right? The safety and crash standards do gradually increase.
Yeah, I think eventually it ripples down into entry level and becomes, standard without the hoopla of saying that it's standard. But I definitely see, the argument that can be made. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. And I was really young when was it Alan Greenspan successfully lobbied for seatbelts in all cars. And I don't think that was stratified. I think it was mandatory in every car, everywhere to have seatbelts.
Yeah, Ralph Nader.
Not
the Federal Reserve Chairman.
Yeah, it was one of those old guys. I said I was young. Come on.
I don't know that. I think, Tony, my opinion is you're presenting something maybe a little bit rosier than it might actually be. I don't think the car companies have voluntarily put a lot of safety features in until they're pushed.
That was the beer talking.
Well, pushed, or they can use it as a sell-up point, which is exactly what you're talking about here. Hey, additional safety package, and we can make more profit, and you get a safer car.
You love your kids, right? Are your kids worth $15,000?
Are your kids worth this $3,000 extra safety package?
Right. Do you want passenger curtain airbags? Yeah. If you love them, you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we'll give you these bungee cords and you can tie the kids to the roof. Who gives a shit?
In Missouri, we can't even get them to put them in their stupid car seats. So I don't know.
It's an interesting question because, again, is it fair that cars should be more expensive to be safer? I don't think, is anybody on the panel going to suggest that the car manufacturers should be required by law, if it were even possible, to legislate this, to include these safety features and not raise the price? I mean, I don't see how that works.
Yeah, I mean, you have to raise the price if there's additional technology. I mean, you can only put so many laser sensors. I mean, where do you draw the line? I mean, Tesla's got lasers and sonar and whatever the heck else they've built into this autopilot system, but you're not going to be able to put that on a Chevy Spark. It's going to cost because it'll cost more than the structure of the vehicle.
Yeah, it would if the government were to pass a law mandating these things and not raising the price, I think they would have to end up literally subsidizing the inclusion of these items somehow. Right.
Yeah, that would be bad.
I mean, literally, you would be forcing them to give the consumer something without the ability to charge them. So they would have to buy and source all these materials, put it into the car, but not charge for all the effort or the materials. And I don't think anybody could argue that that's a really good pro-business or just all around good idea.
Well, and the other side of that coin too is a lot of this new technology isn't necessarily proven. It comes out sounding good, sounding interesting, but does it truly save lives, reduce injuries, reduce accidents, prevent collisions as it's advertised to do? And if you're talking about adding a $2,000 to $3,000 safety feature that doesn't improve safety in a statistically significant way, then that's certainly something I don't think anybody's going to want mandated and paid for by the government. So, I think it takes time. And so if people are willing to pay to be the guinea pigs for this fancy new technology and for the sense that it is improving their safety while it's being studied and evaluated, fine, let them be guinea pigs and let them buy that. But I don't think just because something's new, different, and exciting becomes suddenly available, it should be mandated. I think it needs to be proven to reduce risks. And I think the process that's being used now, for the most part, does that. Trust them. It's the government. They'll only do what's right.
Of course.
I've heard these arguments over the course of my lifetime. That's mandating seatbelts was an infringement of freedom of the driver. If I don't want to wear them, then why? If I decide to kill myself, that's my right. You hear the same arguments from idiots on motorcycles, and I say that as a motorcycle rider. So, don't think I'm just criticizing somebody because I'm not part of that group. I'm definitely part of that group. But you hear the same idiotic arguments, like I don't want to wear a helmet, blah 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 blah. Okay, don't. I mean, I'm sure in Evan's parlance and all of his compatriots, you're an organ donor. It's just I go back to back when I was in grade school. My dad worked at American Motors and was an engineer on a new car there. And I remember some of the talk he had about how the difference of like 2 cents literally per vehicle would sometimes determine whether or not they would include a feature. An upgraded safety belt, for instance. And this isn't just American Motors. Rest assured, this is every car company out there. They do this math. I mean, they're into making a lot of products and selling them, and they're not going to spend 10 cents more per car than they have to. So I think I'm a little uncomfortable waiting for the voluntary acceptance thing, and likewise I'm uncomfortable, like Evan, saying every car needs to have dynamic cruise control. That may be safer, but it may not be a good value investment.
You're right.
Automatic braking, heads-up displays, backup cameras. What is it? I'm trying to think of the name, but the sensors that can tell you if there's a car in your blind spot.
Yeah, blind spot. Just the blind spot detection, right?
Yeah.
These are things that, from my opinion, are may not save lives. Some of them certainly could, but would certainly make driving safer. It's going to lower accidents.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting though too. Some of the regulations that are currently in place inhibit some technology that could improve safety. For instance, the mandate, like Tesla's been working to try to get around to have side mirrors. When having side cameras would improve your field of vision, would improve clarity, could have built-in sensors that would trigger you with alerts when there was someone in your blind spot, and would improve aerodynamics and improve fuel efficiency by the same token. And yet we have these old laws on the books that are mandated that people don't want to move away from because we need mirrors on cars because we're from the 1960s.
Because when those laws were passed, mirrors was the only way to see what was on your side. They didn't have camera technology, and they didn't write the laws to take into consideration that technology could replace the mirrors. What they really meant was, in my opinion, the intention of the law was you must be able to see what's on the side and behind of the vehicle. And if they'd have written it that way, then that would have opened it up for something like cameras or any technology.
But it's ludicrous that there's so much red tape that takes teams of lawyers and legislation to get something so obvious changed.
Right. Right.
Yeah, some of those stories of the struggles that Tesla has had with Washington, D.C. are pretty funny. They were talking about how some of their quote idiot lights, Tesla just wanted to replace them with one dynamic icon that could change to whatever, and they were like, nope, you have to have these 5, and they have to be independent, and they have to all be clearly marked.
Yep.
There's no reason for it other than they're behind the times and move way too slow.
Well, and the idea that for some reason it's a good idea for you to, when you're driving, be checking a mirror as opposed to looking at a display of what's on the side of you, right in front of you. Somehow that's a good idea.
Right.
Again, back in the day when those laws were written, that was the only technology, more or less, that was available to them. But it's not that day anymore. We can, we've evolved. We can actually do better.
Yeah, I mean, these days, with the ability to put an LCD screen on the dashboard, in front of you, or whatever, and sensors around the car, you literally could have the car portray your car in the middle of the screen, and then just show you where the cars are located around you, as though you're looking down upon, you know what I mean? So you wouldn't even need to check your blind spots or whatever. You would just inherently know where the car is, if the car is in the next lane, how far off your back bumper it is. I mean,
And
That's
there's
an interesting idea.
Here,
A lot of racing
I can-
games. Yeah.
So, have you guys heard of NVIDIA? I don't know how to post this link to everybody, but there's some speculation that the NVIDIA tech. I'll share it in the chat. The NVIDIA technology will do exactly that. And if you click that link, you can see some of the pictures there. I haven't had time to download them, but it basically does exactly what Tony was just mentioning. And there's speculation that the Model X is going to have that because the mule pictures that have been posted around the net have revealed an utter lack of mirrors anywhere of any kind. And there's speculation that basically that's going to be incorporating this NVIDIA technology into the Model X to show you exactly that 360 view all the way around you, blind spot detection, autopilot, the whole deal.
wait, they can't do that. I just patented that just now.
I'm pretty sure that NVIDIA and several other people already have several patents in that space.
Yeah.
They're a big graphics card company and can do graphics rendering. And so, yeah, making camera displays, I'm sure, is something they have a lot of IP in, Tony.
If you click
Break my heart.
let me give you even, if you click that link of clicking through there, it's pretty impressive where it actually identifies the type of obstacle around the vehicle as being a passenger, a bicyclist, a moving vehicle, etc., showing all the way around. If you just kind of scroll down that page, it's really impressive.
Well, so let's see if we can share this.
We're talking about the NVIDIA Drive PX.
Drive PX, yeah.
Autopilot car computer.
This technology isn't cool just because it's technology, but again, one of the not so safe things that we had to do when we had mirrors was do that whole, like, I'm taking my eyes totally off the road where I'm driving and I have to look backwards.
Oh, yeah.
When you think about it, that's just about the dumbest thing you can do.
It absolutely is.
But it's also safe because you've got to see that blind spot. So now that we have this technology, we should be running towards it to make it cheap enough so that every car can have access to it. That's my take on it, at least.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever told you guys. I was driving here, and it was just a regular afternoon, and I forget exactly why. And I'm not usually a left lane cruiser, but I was in the left lane, and there were 3 lanes, and I was behind this car in the left lane. There was like only the 2 of us on the road. So I decided, I wanted to just go around them, pass them on the right, in an open lane. I looked over my right shoulder, noticed there were no cars, turned back around. The car in front of me in the left lane with an island had stopped.
Nice.
And, I mean, honestly, I hate the concept of looking over my shoulder because it forces me to stop looking forward, and it was exactly for that reason. Now, I have absolutely no idea why this car would have stopped in the left lane with an island, but I just about rear-ended them because I was archaically, so 1800s, looking over my shoulder just to see what was around me.
Right.
So let me turn it around. And I don't want to get into the cell phone thing because I don't think there's a lot of debate among rational people on the cell phone thing. So aside from cell phones, what technology out there is maybe holding us back? Is any of this stuff something we need to avoid?
What do you mean? I'm not sure I understand.
Maybe it's not safety technology. In other words, like, is a GPS display a good idea to have in a vehicle?
I think so. But, obviously, so the point you're getting at is the 17-inch iPad in the Tesla a good idea to have in the vehicle, and I can surf the internet while I'm driving and have music playing on a second screen and those sorts of things. Going there. Are they potential distractions? Sure. People are going to find distractions no matter what. driving becomes something that's almost a secondary activity for us. You know, ideally, yes, we would all have two hands on the wheel at 2 and 10, and we'd have our heads straight forward the whole time, checking all the mirrors in a sequential way, and we would all have our full attention, and all the children would be quiet in the back seat, and the radio would be off, and we'd never be trying to eat our McDonald's hamburgers as we were going down the road, and that utopia, I'm sure, is coming any day now. But we're always going to find distractions, and I think you certainly have to weigh the benefits of having GPS and not getting lost and not crashing and not trying to look at a paper map in your lap to find where you're going. I mean, isn't that the trade-off? I mean, you got to get where you're going somehow, and if you don't know where you're going, you're going to either have a paper map, which seems a whole lot clumsier and more difficult to navigate than a sweet little computerized female voice telling you, take a left in 1/4 mile. I'll take that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the voice prompts at all. I think that's a good thing. I'm just wondering if is there technology that we're clinging to that maybe we don't need to. And believe me, I have my own issues with the whole I love GPS. I love it. I love nav. But yesterday, Toyota's nav almost killed me. I won't go into that. Suffice to say, it's terrible and needs to be updated.
I certainly have had navigation tell me to turn the wrong way on a one-way street and do some other things where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. So you can't just blindly listen to it. You still have to be aware and thinking about what it's asking you to do.
This literally almost wanted me to run off an abandoned road off the end of a hill. So at that point, I just stopped the car, turned off the GPS, opened up my phone, and stuck it in the cup holder down below.
Tony, I told you reprogramming that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
We found our hack. Oh, darn it.
Yes. Yes. It was worth a try.
If you want to be the host, it's not that big a deal. You can be the host.
No, I'm gonna screen share with you here, and this literally happened March the 30th of this year.
Someone put an egg in an avocado? Oh, no, wrong part, sorry.
A man who was unfamiliar with the roads was driving and literally drove around barriers and road closed signs because his GPS told him to keep going.
So
he literally drove off
from driving
a bridge. Yeah.
Yeah. That might be a good person to take their driver's license away.
Well, you don't need to anymore.
Yeah, good
He
point.
won the Darwin Award.
Yeah,
Look, there was an accident just this week or late last week in Florida, which is simultaneously humorous and tragic. Tragic because someone died. Humorous because what happened was it was a 4-car pileup started by one woman stopping her car on the road for a squirrel, which then caused 2 other cars to crash. One went in Evan's classic scenario on the other side of the street and did a header with somebody else who died, and that's horrible. But I mean,
yeah, squirrels are cute and furry, but yeah, they don't belong in the road. And I'm sorry, squirrel.
So I think
It probably wouldn't have hit the squirrel anyway.
Right.
Yeah,
It probably would have been fine.
Yeah, the squirrel almost always gets out of the way. I mean, you see the squirrels that have been squished, but that's like less than 1% of all squirrels, and so yeah.
So we can always build a better idiot. There's always going to be somebody that's going to beat whatever technology and safety features.
When one idiot meets another idiot, what you get is a super idiot.
But at some point you have to
dominant gene.
I think you have to limit the nannyism of the safety. Unless we're all going to switch completely to autonomous cars, there's always going to be a way for bad things to happen, and I don't know. Are we going to take away everything but the steering wheel and the shifter? I don't know.
Here's the classic ending question here. What's the point of safety equipment? Is it to limit our freedom or is it to make us safer?
The point?
And unfortunately, those go hand in hand
Right.
too often.
Yeah.
The point is to make us safer. Unfortunately, sometimes the consequence is the limitation of the freedom.
So is the primary purpose of a vehicle to get you safely from point A to point B without killing the inhabitants of the car or other people? Or is it an expression of your freedom and a tool that you use to have fun?
Yes.
All of the above.
Well, okay. Here's something to consider. Fighter jets, and I learned this a long time ago, that fighter jets, when the fighter jet senses an impending crash, let's say, because they fly so fast that they actually took into consideration that the plane might recognize that it's about to hit a mountain, and it will ignore all pilot input to avoid the mountain. It'll do that. So, does that save the pilot's life and the jet, or does it take away the pilot's freedom? And you might be saying, well, that's just one fighter pilot and that's just one airplane. But then think about the German pilot that killed 150 people in the Alps. If the plane could have detected the mountain and pulled up on its own, regardless of what the pilot was doing, would you argue that it was limiting his ability to commit suicide or saving 150 people?
No response.
Crickets.
I think this really is an interesting discussion in that we talked about the speed limit, the car that senses speed limits. How would you feel if Tesla did an over-the-air software update tomorrow, Evan, and suddenly you couldn't drive over the speed limit anywhere?
Yeah. That would probably have bad consequences for Tesla's stock price.
I'm not arguing that, but as you as an owner, how would you feel about that?
Yeah, I would be pissed.
But your car would be safer.
Theoretically.
Well,
You would get better rain because you'd never be using more energy than you absolutely had to.
We talked about this before. What the real dangerous thing is when you're not going the same speed as the flow of traffic around you. And in most cases, if you're going the speed limit, you're probably 15 miles slower than everybody else, and you're creating a danger.
I'm not campaigning for one or the other. I think this is. We Americans cars are an integral part of who we are, culturally, sociologically, and it's not always like a rational, logical tool to perform a function. It's something else.
That's because we're humans and not machines, and we don't always do everything rationally. Sometimes we do things emotionally, and that's who we are. That's part of our character. That's part of what makes life worth living, is having risk and having fun and having freedom to do what we want to do. And this is just one of the ways Americans tend to express that.
If it was an autonomous car, I'd be okay if it did the speed limit, because when I ride the bus, I'm not like, oh my God, this guy's going so slow. That's just what I expect. Right. So if I got in my autonomous car and just got on my phone and was playing games or doing email or whatever, I wouldn't even be worried about it.
Exactly. I completely agree. Yeah, whatever.
But then there are things, we showed this picture. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, but I'd totally be hacking my autonomous car so I could go faster than that.
I so knew that was coming. I think they have the only autonomous car that does 150.
Yes, yeah. Mr. ER Doc is hacking his autonomous car.
Around corners. Yeah. Hey, man, I bought this chip on eBay for my autonomous car. It's amazing. And I've got an Atari 2600 joystick that can
and it has insanity mode.
Oh, go ahead, Patrick. What were you going to say, man?
One of the, I have to think about it. One of the earlier things you asked was, are there things that we could take too far? And there was that picture earlier. I don't know if you can pull it back up from that NVIDIA thing where they were labeling what everything was, and if that was on the front windshield and it's putting this augmented reality on there with all kinds of labels and icons and everything else, that just seemed distracting. You don't need to tell me that the car there is a car or that person on a bike is a biker. maybe you do something to highlight them if it's dark or whatever, so that I have some clue that they're there. But that one just looked like they were painting a whole bunch of
This was for the self-driving car. This was for the autonomous car. That was the self-driving car, and that I think that's just a graphic of what the car is seeing, not what the driver would necessarily see.
Basically, if you had nothing better to do, you could just go, look, a dog. Ooh, a squirrel.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah. So there are some heads-up display systems that are out there that have some nice features, and others that were just horrible. Just putting all kinds of things up on the windshield that didn't matter. I don't need to know what my gas level is if it's blocking my ability to see something out the window.
Right, but if you can bring your crosshairs targeting system, that is a must.
Yes.
You have to have that.
You really want the
That's my next hack. That's my next hack for the autonomous car.
It's weaponry?
It could be a Nerf gun. Nerf gun.
Yeah, it's safe.
Super soakers.
I think I don't remember who it was. It may have been George Carlin that one time suggested everybody should have paintball guns. And whenever somebody does something stupid to you in the road, you take out your paintball gun, you shoot their car, and then when a cop sees somebody with a whole bunch of paintball splats in the car, the cop pulls him over, writes him a ticket for being an asshole.
I like it.
I don't know what you did, but you did something.
You pissed off 30 people, I can tell. You need a timeout.
That's a perfect system. I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
Right.
We went from car safety to weaponry. I'm pretty sure we just went full circle.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of full circle, we're about done for this week. Any final thoughts, you guys? I'll open it up to Evan.
No, nothing. Thanks for having my boys on. I think Brendan introduced himself. My other son was Heath, and they're some pretty good kids. So I appreciate you having them on.
Absolutely. Thanks. Please thank them from me for being on the show. It was really cool to have actually our target market that we were talking about on the show. Patrick.
You'll have to listen to the show later, Evan, to find out what they said about you.
Yeah, exactly.
Deep stuff later on. That's all I'm going to say, Evan.
So I really liked having this specialty-themed show. I think it'd be cool if we did this once a month or so. It's kind of neat.
Right.
I like that idea too. If we can come up with some good topics that we can argue about, I'm all about it. And more on that in a moment. Mr. Schaefer, any final thoughts on vehicle safety?
No, I'm just, the one thing, and I thought about this earlier. I'm a little bit bummed, I suppose. We can save this for another show, that we didn't get to an article that we posted on the What Drives Us Facebook page about geometric design, speed, and safety. The design of roads, and why, for example, the Autobahn is allows people to drive pretty much as fast as they want, and yet there are fewer wrecks on the Autobahn than there are on American interstates. And how road design affects safety. So that's something we could certainly delve into at a later show.
I think it is, and we'll definitely keep that on tap. Yeah.
Hey, if you do that, let me know. We've got actually an old Prius chatter from New Zealand that is probably a world expert in that specific topic we can bring on.
I would love to do that. Yeah. Talk to them and let's do that soon. That would be fun.
Yeah, that post that's on our page now that Tony's talking about, that's a class, actually, or a lecture that's happening at Portland State University. I could find out who's giving the lecture and see if they're available.
That would be great. That might even be Richard J. Porter, assistant professor at the University of Utah.
So there you go.
The story. Speaking of which, if you guys have ideas, any of our viewers or listeners have ideas, you want to comment on something that we've said during the show, please visit us at facebook.com/whatdrivesus, no spaces, and post a comment there. Comment on our news stories that we've posted, and let us know what you think. We would love to have discussions based on ideas from you, the people actually sitting there watching. You.
Or give us a call.
At 575-51-DRIVE?
That would be the number, 575-51-DRIVE.
I'm going to get all the underbrush done right away. So, yes, if you have a question or comment about the show, you can call us at 575-51-DRIVE. and leave a question or comment on our Google voicemail. If it's entertaining or interesting, we may even feature it on the show. But give us a call anyway and tell us you love us or not. Tell us you don't love Tony. You can tell me. I need the reinforcement. Tony's ego is way out of control. He doesn't.
Do I even fit in the frame? Does my head?
Back from the camera, Tony. Back from the camera. So, shout-outs this week. Dr. Fusco, aside from Brendan and Heath, who we want to thank again, any other shout-outs?
Not really. I've actually just recently became a moderator over on TeslaMotorsClub.com, so if you want to get banned, come over, say something nasty, and I'm there for you.
Awesome.
Me and my BMW buddies are going to be there soon. Mr. Connor.
I'd like to give a shout out to Drive Oregon and the Union of Concerned Scientists, who both helped put on EV Drive Day in our state capitol yesterday. Thank you to both of them.
Hey, Patrick, I was going to mention I signed up for that Dream Drive that you had on a couple weeks ago. And
oh, cool.
Got to get involved in that. I don't know if they're going to do anything down here in little Nixa, Missouri, but hopefully something regional.
Home of Jason Bourne.
Yeah. True enough.
Yeah, that is a really cool program. Dream Drives for kids.
Very cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Okay, Tony.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to Bruce Johnson and Lee Moon. Mainly because if you read the names and switch them around, you get a Bruce Lee and Johnson Moon.
Or Moon Johnson.
Or Moon Johnson. Yeah, that's pretty rocking. Regular shout outs, of course, to Austin and someone named Kimberly Carr Frost, who tends to like a lot of things.
She sounds
I think she's hot. Yeah, she's hot.
Yeah, I think so. Also, I want to give a shout out to Francesca Perry, who is an author for the Guardian, who will never ever hear this shout out. So, Francesca, this is to you, man. Girl, whatever.
Wow. How do I want to know how you know someone at the Guardian?
Yeah, there's an article on the Rethinking Urban Transport for Cities of 20 million plus people, written by Francisca Perry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that.
I just, if we can throw around names.
Sure, why not? I mean, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
How many cities have 20 million plus people?
That is exactly the question I asked when I read that headline.
Can't be very many.
No, I think Tokyo has more.
5, maybe 10.
Yeah, the greater Chicagoland area, 7.5. And that includes, that's the greater Chicagoland area. That's all suburbs and everything. So, like, Chicago proper is something like 3.5 million.
I mean, Tokyo probably qualifies. Maybe Beijing.
Mexico City?
Yeah. Wow, that can't be a lot.
Yeah,
I don't think. Dubai have that many? I didn't think it was that big.
I wouldn't think Dubai had that many.
No. Mumbai, India.
Mumbai. Yeah.
Mumbai.
I was thinking India. Yeah, there might be some Indian cities.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
I'm just guessing. It's what I do. Mm-hmm. Well, as always, I want to thank Michael Mannering for our theme music. You can find him at manthing.com. Thank you very much, Michael. We appreciate it. I need to thank... No, you know what? I want to thank my friends at European Eyewear. Thanks for the goggles. I also want to, like, a weird shout-out, because I've been spending tons of time at the library lately. If you have a local library, support your library. Donate some money, donate some books, go check some stuff out. Take the kids there. The library rocks. Library.
Here.
Agreed.
Yeah, I love my library. I'm literally at the library at least twice a week. Yes, go to the library.
So, yeah, it just seems like a good thing to do. And that's it. I want to thank so much. I can't thank Danny because he wasn't here to bail me out this week. He was too busy enjoying family time.
Doing family stuff.
Yeah, kids, whatever. But I do want to thank the three gentlemen that bailed my ass out this week. Evan, Patrick, and Tony. Thanks, guys. You guys were awesome. And, of course, as always, most of all, thank you, the listener, the viewer, for being part of our show. I hope to see you online. I hope you are downloading the show and leaving some comments somewhere. So until next week, download us and find out what drives us.